Congratulations, you're no longer part of the family reunion, my brother announced over watch. I pulled out a folder, page 1, grocery bill since 2017. Then I dropped the $21,400 breakdown on the table and walked out. The next day there was a knock at their door. Who was it? And then they realized the house was no longer theirs. Congratulations, you're no longer part of the family reunion, my brother Michael said, biting into a sandwich like he was just reading the weather report. I was still holding a napkin, hadn't even fully sat down, just froze there by the kitchen table where everyone had gathered like it was any other evening. Mom shrugged. Dad didn't even look up, just kept flipping through his newspaper like some cliché from a bad sitcom about emotionally absent fathers. Emma, my younger sister, giggled without lifting her eyes from her phone like the whole thing was scripted. Oh, don't look at us like that, she added. You never really fit in. We're just making it official. No one spoke up for me. No one asked why. No one looked surprised. I sat down, slowly reached into my backpack and pulled out a blue plastic folder. I placed it right on the table on top of the coffee-stained tablecloth on top of their smug little silence. Page 1, I said, grocery receipts since 2017. I started flipping through supermarkets, deliveries, prescription. For Dad, shampoo. For Mom, dog food. For the mite that died 2 years ago. The one no one wanted to pay for, but me. Sheet after sheet after sheet. And then the final page, standard of a size 14 font, bold centered, $21,400 and 38 cents. That's the amount you all like to call all helping the family, I said quietly. Now it's just your reality. I stood up, zipped my backpack, looked at that. You call this a family dinner? But I'm not part of this performance anymore. And now you'll feel that I walked out. No slam doors, no last word, just gone. The next day someone knocked on their door. That opened it, and so awesome when he definitely wasn't expecting. And that's when they finally realized the house wasn't theirs anymore. You'd think they'd ask why I brought receipts to a family watch. They didn't, because deep down they already knew. My phone buzzed 2 hours after I left. Group chat, family lit up like fireworks. First Emma, that was childish even for you. Then Mom, you embarrassed your father for what you think this is how grown-ups handle things. Michael, silence like a true coward. But let's rewind, because this wasn't about one watch, this was about years. Since 2017. I've been the fallback, plan B if something goes wrong. He'll handle it guy. Every emergency. Mine, every overdraft covered, every lie swallowed. And every time I said yes, they just tightened the leash. When Emma's dawn broke, it's like I paid the vet bill $1,800 when Dad needed dental work, but insurance was a scam. I covered the $3,200, never saw thank you tax, just forwarded meme a week later about kids these days being soft. When Michael accidentally crashed Mom's car while drunk, guess who covered the deductible? Not him. He didn't even lose driving privileges. I paid for groceries so many times that Instacart started sending me their family discounts. They never said thank you. They said, well, you're single, you don't have kids, you make more anyway. That's what family does, right? Until I tried to say no 2 months before that launch. I told Mom I couldn't cover EMIS rent shortfall. Not again, she sighed like I just spit in or tea. Well, you know how hard it is for your sister. If you had any empathy, you'd understand. She's trying. Emma, I hadn't held a job for more than 4 months in 3 years. Her trying included yoga retreats, Tinder dates, and a failed Etsy shop selling customized water bottles. A week later, I opened Facebook. There was a post from Michael, photo me holding a grocery bag in front of their pour. Watch caption, some people bring winded dinner, or brother brings spreadsheets, hashtag accountant vibes, hashtag some people never change. In the comments, classic James, always tracking every cent. Tell him to log your emotional debt to bet he charges for hugs. 50 plus likes, even extended cousins joined it. I didn't come it, I just screenshotted every single word. Then came the group chat ambush. We need to talk, can you stop being dramatic? It's just a joke. When I didn't reply, they kicked me from the chat, the family chat. But here's what they didn't know while they were mocking me online. I was building my case like a detective who just found the murder weapon in the diary. Every transfer, every sell will PayPal $21,400.38. Wasn't a guess, it was cool math. And then I found a real bomb. I was doing my taxes early, something they've never done in their lives, and noticed a weird credit flag. Someone had used my social security number as a loan cosigner. I dug, cross-checked the timestamp. It matched the time Michael had been launching his dream startup. You know, the one that failed before it had a name, and the cosign or name me James T. Walker with a fake email address and a Ford signature. I froze for a moment. I actually blamed myself. Maybe I gave them too much. Maybe I brained them to treat me like this. But then something snapped, and I didn't cry. I started scanning all of it. I printed the loan forms. I exported every financial statement. And I built the folder a folder with a full breakdown of family expenses I covered since 2000. And 17 screenshots of mocking group chat messages. Faced with posting comments and notarized statement about the forged loan email backups make records my sister's accidental messages admitting she used my court, and a video I'd forgotten, I had dad laughing drug telling my uncle. James is like a debit card quiet and loaded. I uploaded it all to a cloud drive, shared it with my lawyer. And then I waited when I brought that folder to launch. I wasn't looking to hurt them, just to finally protect myself. I was bringing proof to battlefield because this wasn't miscommunication. This was exploitation dressed up in Christmas cards and for smiles. And they were about to understand what it means to lose someone who always gave when the person you used to walk on builds the exit road. I got the invitation in a text from Mom. Let's just talk please, just you me. And Dad, no drama, no Emma, no. Michael, just the core of the right. I said yes, not because I wanted peace, but because I was ready to win the war. We met at some pretentious rustic bistro they like to pretend was our spot. I arrived 10 minutes early and took the booth in the back near the wall away from the exit. I wanted them to feel trapped for once they showed up right on time. Mom looked exhausted, the kind of tired that comes from running out of excuses. Dad looked annoyed. I scanned the room like he was already building an escape plan. We didn't order food, not even drinks. They sat down like this was a deposition. We didn't come here to argue. Mom started. Then don't I said. There was a pause. Dad leaned forward. You made your point. Where do you want money back? Apology, your name, and a thank you post. He thought this was an Yoshi Asian. It wasn't. I pulled out the folder, not a copy, the original. I placed it in front of them and said, let's walk through memory lane, shall we? I opened to the forged loan papers, page 24. This is where Michael used my name to secure $9,000. Guess whose email he used as witness? Yours, Dad. His face changed slight, which a bit of sweat. Mom reached for the folder. I pulled it back. I'm not done. I flipped to the screenshots of the group chat. Emma said, I was always calculating and emotionally manipulative, that I never loved this family. You laughed at that. Mom is just bitter because no one married him. She looked down. And finally silence. That wasn't smog. Then I pulled out a USB drive. This is from last year's Thanksgiving. The audio you didn't know I had running on my phone after I stepped out to take a call. I clicked play on my laptop. Dad's voice crystal clear. He thinks he's better than us because he has a spreadsheet. He's a walking calculator. I'd replace him with a robot if it came with a credit card. Mom's voice. Don't say that. He's not that bad. That is not that useful either. Once we pay off the mortgage, we don't need him. I stopped the audio. Then I said what I'd waited years to say. Congratulations, you're free. You'll never have to use me again in that house you're living in. I pulled out a second envelope, this one sealed, stamped, and a fish. Or as of 9 a.m. this morning, the bank has frozen the deed. I pulled the corner ship. The mortgage is no longer paid automatically. Mom gasped. You took the house from us. No. I let the bank take it. You have 30 days to vacate, but hey now. You'll really be on your own. Isn't that what you wanted? That slammed the table. You all always think you're the smartest person in the room, don't you? You think this makes you better. That's when I smiled, not out of spite, out of release. No, it makes me free. And right then, and walked in. She wasn't invited. She didn't sit. She didn't speak. She watched. I turned to her. Did you come for the show? Are you here to admit you lied? She crossed her arms. This is your revenge fantasy, not reality. That's when I dropped the final bomb. I reached into my bag, pulled out a tablet, and played the video. Emma on camera, her voice for face. St. Michael, of course. I lied about the red. James would never check. He still feels guilty for leaving. Cut to another clip, a screen recording of our fake messages side by side with the originals I dug up from the cloud. Photoshop timestamps mismatched. Then the voice memo, her voice wise, to make it seem like I had threatened her. Choppy, poorly edited, but obvious now. I turned the volume up for words echoed through the room, and finally the truth with surface that stood up. Mom started crying. Him off froze, the kind of stillness that comes only when the lie dies mid-sentence. Then someone else. 100, a tall man in his 30s, clean-shaven, wearing a blazer, holding a manila envelope. My lawyer. He didn't speak, just handed Dad the envelope. Inside a cease and desist. Full breakdown of the fraudulent won't notice of civil suit. Mom screamed something about betrayal. Dad shouted legal threats. Emma started yelling how I had ruined everything. I just stood calm. No, you ruined everything. I just stopped pretending it was fine. Then I walked away. No hug, no tears. Just the sound of my freedom beginning. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel guilty. I felt clean. 37 days. That's how long it took between me dropping that folder on the table and watching them walk out of the house. They once called hours for the last time. They didn't see it coming because people like them never do. They spend years building a fantasy where guilt is currency and the quiet one will always pick up the bill. They never imagine what happens when the quiet one learns how to read the rules in place better than them. The night after that dinner, I didn't sleep, not out of nerves, out of calculation. I made coffee, turned off my phone, and spent 8 hours straight building a full-scale recovery plan. Every dollar I had ever given them, groceries, car, or payments, medical bills, utilities, was mapped out across 4 spreadsheets to timelines in one master doc labeled simply retrieval, because that's what this was now, not revenge, not catharsis collection. The first thing I did was lock down everything, closed every joint account, cancelled every authorized user called ever a utility company, and flag my name for removal, froze my credit, contacted 3 fraud departments before launch. By day 3 his phone was disconnected. By day 5 the power to the house flickered and died, a literal blackout of privilege. Then came the money I didn't want to sue them as a family. That's what they expected, something emotional, a big dramatic CISO. Instead, I filed separately, clean, targeted, legally airtight. Michael was first. I had a copy of the forged loan, the fake email address, even metadata showing the document was signed from his IP address. He never showed up. The court default judgment, $9,000 garnishable. Collectible, no way out. Then Emma, I hit her with documented financial fraud text where she joked about buying groceries on my court deems to her friend, bragging that she could get me into anything in a transfer where she used my card to pay off her corner debt. She showed up the court in tears. He said, I could use it, the always helps me, he's like the kind brother. I played the voice memo, her laughter, her words. James always feels guilty, even when people take advantage of him. Judgment, $6,200 plus $1,500 punitive for emotional distress. She tried to appeal last, and now she of interest. Finally, my parents. This was the big one. I hit them with a triple claim: verbal breach of repayment agreement, unauthorized use of fines, misrepresentation of Cohen or Ship in financial documents. They tried to fight back. That even brought in an old golf buddy who worked in law. He tried to argue I had gifted them the money. Then I showed the judge my bank statements, the emails confirming temporary help, a sign received from when dad accepted a transfer from mortgage buffer until tax return hits in the real dagger, an email from my mother thanking me for saving the house again. Judgment, $8,700 clean, enforceable with court fees. The total now $25,400 and 38 sets. I got every sit back and then some, but I wasn't finished. See, I didn't just want repayment, I wanted deterrents and wanted them to remember this. So 2 weeks after the last judgment, I bought the house. Yes, the very house they were evicted from. Foreclosed, vague, auction, devalued. Because of dispute history, I paid cash, no loan, no mortgage, signed the deed, and a silent, sterile big office. Walked through the house the next day with the realtor, listening to her apologize for the damage and lingering smell of resentment. I didn't keep it, didn't live in it, didn't flip it. I turned it into something better. A small, quiet, transitional housing space for adults recovering from financial abuse by their own families. 6 bedrooms, clean kitchen, no motivational posters, just quiet. Each resident gets a locked cabinet, no shared baking, no favors. I don't advertise it. I don't put my name on the mailbox, but I know what it is. On the front door, a steel plaque reads, "This home is not built on guilt." They started calling again, not directly, they're too proud. But I got emails from their friends, from second cousins, even an ex-pastor asking if I'd consider restoring the relationship. Him and email me personally, said the judgment was destroying her credit and she couldn't lease an apartment. This isn't you, you're not cruel. Please, I was just desperate. I replied with forwards, desperation has receipts to Michael. He texted me, no, hello, just so what, you think you're better than us now? I replied, no, just done pretending I'm worse. As for my parents, they moved out of state. I only know because a debt collector called me asking if I had a forwarding address. Apparently, they listed me as an emergency contact on a loan application. I laughed and said never heard of them. That was the moment it all snapped into place, not just because I got my money. Yea, not because they lost the house, but because they finally saw I wasn't the spear son, wasn't the backup plan, wasn't the wallet in the background. I was the one who walked away and made sure the door didn't stay open. I didn't expect the letter. It came 3 months after the last payment hit my account and written no return address, just my name, spelled carefully the way my grandfather used to write it. I opened it like a bomb technician. Slowly inside was a single sheet of paper folded 3 times. The handwriting was shaky, not my father's, not my mother's, but I recognized that instantly. Emma James, you want, and honestly I think you were right to do it. But I need you to know something I lied about a lot. But not about everything. There's something you never knew, something Dad kept from you because it would have ruined him as grandpa. About 2001. Ask about the other account. I don't want anything, just go find the truth before it disappears with him. I stared at the paper for a long time. I wasn't angry, I wasn't even curious, not yet. I was unsettled. Next morning, I drove to the edge of town to the little brick house with wind chimes, arrested grill out front. Grandpa opened the door, took one look at me and said, I was wondering when you'd come. We didn't sit inside. We never did. We sat on the porch. I handed him the letter. He read it once, folded it again, didn't react. She finally cracked her, what's the other account? He didn't answer, not directly. He just stood up, walked inside, and came back with a shoebox. Inside were all bank statements, land documents to cassette tapes, birth certificate in one tiny envelope with my name on it, dated 24 years ago. I opened it, read it again, and suddenly everything tilted. My real mother's name wasn't Margaret Walker. It was Hannah Cole. She died in childbirth. I was adopted privately, quietly by my father's new wife. 2 months later, they covered it up, changed the certificate, paid off the hospital clerk because Hannah had been my father's mistress. My entire life had been a clean-up job for a shame. Emma wasn't my full sister. Michael wasn't even told the truth, and me, I was the family's greatest secret, the reminder of a scandal, their debt and flesh and bone. Grandpa looked at me in. Ever wanted to raise you? He called you a complication, said he'd make it right with money. But Margaret, your stepmother, raised you like curse until she didn't. Where are you telling me this now? Because now you're the only one who deserves to know. The rest unraveled fast. The other account, and I mentioned a fund set up in my name by Grandpa when I was a baby. Money from his estate, over $160,000 by now, untouched, collecting dust and compound interest. He gave me access on the spot, said he waited until the rest of them proved unworthy. He also gave me the original to the vacation property Michael used to brag about inheriting someday. My father had forged a second version years ago, try to sell it under a fake LLC. But now I had a legal version. In a single week, I became the legal owner of every piece of property that had once defined their legacy: the mountain cabin, the lakefront lot, the family home turned shelter. I didn't gloat, I closed. Let's wrap up the rest. Michael, after losing the court case, Izzy spiraled, tried to start another business, a cryptopump scheme, got flagged by the SEC. Is actually messages. He now lives in a shared rental above of a shop in Florida doing freelance IT for MLS. Still hasn't paid a cent of the judgment I garnish through the tax refund system. Every time he tries to file, I get the first slice. Emma, she actually tried, took a job at a veterinary clinic, started paying back in small increments. Her apology letter wasn't perfect, but it was real. We don't talk. But I don't hate her anymore. Sometimes not hating someone is the greatest freedom. My parents, they moved to a trailer park near Yuma. My father is God. My mother, silence. They tried one lasted, faking medical debt to open a GoFundMe. I sent a copy of the forged deed to the site. Campaign removed, account banned, no charges filed, just consequences. And me, I moved again. Quiet place, clean air, the transitional home I created. Now houses 7 reset. Since people like me who were told by family that they owed everything and deserved nothing, I need to call house after the mother I never met, but who, despite dying the day I was born, still gave me more than the people who raised me. I work with a non-profit now.